Considering that this is now my third year in Beijing, it seems amazing that to date I had never visited the Olympic Forest Park, lying just to the north of the Olympic Green, which I've visited many times. This weekend it seemed the time was right to put that omission to rights. Beijing's Olympic Forest Park is a large man-made nature park built for the 2008 Beijing Olympics Games. It's oval in shape and features a lake in its centre, and it was designed by an individual by the name of Fu Jie. Several small islands in the lake are linked by bridges, and at the southeast end of the lake there's a handful of carnival rides for children. What I hadn't realized until today, though, is that the water that goes into making up the lakes and canal system is shaped like a giant dragon. Not that you'd ever know it unless perhaps you flew over in a helicopter or studied one of the maps conveniently placed for tourists. The forest park covers an area of 680 hectares, or 11.5 square kilometres, and is apparently the largest metropolitan park in Beijing. The Fifth Ring Road forms a boundary between the south and north parts of this park, which combines Chinese classic gardening with a modern landscape design. The south entrance to the park is right next to the aptly named South Gate of Forest Park Station on Line 8 of the Beijing subway. Although there are turnstiles aplenty to go through, it appears that entry is free. My gaze takes in a large pond with people ambling aimlessly around its perimeter. And whizzing along at a respectable 5 kilometres an hour is a two-person quad bike. The type you pedal, that is, not the kind of machines you whiz up and down sand dunes in. I found out later that you can rent these bikes for 100 kwai for an hour, or slightly more for four-person garages. There are only two directions you can go in, and with a toss of the coin I find myself heading in an easterly direction along a path that doesn't really seem to go anywhere except on and on and on. Ahead is a kind of weir, where someone has thought to have water cascading over lumps of concrete. How picturesque, I guess. Though the concrete may not be that eye-catching, there are clumps of flowers dotted around the place, which lifts one's spirits a little. No idea what these flowers are called, but they're rather nice in a simple kind of way. Everywhere, the powers that be have stuck up maps and signposts so that you can be left in no doubt exactly where you are at any given moment. Ahead is a sign pointing in the direction of dangling platform. What on earth is that, I ask myself? Do they dangle errant children over a bridge until they agree to behave themselves, I wonder? I discover a little bit later on, with the help of my trusty iPhone translator, that a dangling platform is where you can play with a hook and line, or angling, as we pedant English speakers are wont to call it. In common with many open areas in Beijing, the signwriters have been having a field day. But though we are warned that on no account are we to pick or dig any fruit or wild vegetables, if the truth be known, there were none of either to be seen. Maybe someone got there first before seeing the signs. Similarly, we are warned to keep off the grasses, and for those of us who cannot see a single blade of grass anywhere in the vicinity, it's comforting to see in pictures that the notice also refers to what look like daisies about to be trampled underfoot. Throughout the park one is never that far away from water, and in theory it should be very picturesque. But somehow the views never seem to be that inspiring. A large stone in the middle of nowhere suddenly comes into view. Rising Dragon Friendship Forest, it says. Though why the powers that be have suddenly decided to rename the forest park without a by your leave is beyond me. The peach trees beside another path are already bearing fruit after what only seems like yesterday when peach trees across the city were all covered in blossom. The pond now appears to be a bit larger than at first imagined. Everywhere there are people bobbing about on boats. They've even hidden a boatyard away behind one of the many man-made islands, which guarantees a steady stream of pleasure seekers chugging their way through a narrow channel to the said landing stage. In the distance can be seen the now nearly constructed sightseeing tower, aka observation tower, depending on whose website you choose to read, at Beijing Olympic Park. At 243 metres high, one wonders how many days in the year it will be clear enough to observe anything, given Beijing's penchant for smothering itself in its own filthy air. Ready for any eventuality, the sides around the lake warn that no swimming is allowed, nor stepping on the ice. But today is a very humid 27 degrees, and any lingering ice has long given up the unequal struggle. Meanwhile, the goldfish, renowned for ignoring notices as if these strictures could never apply to them, flagrantly swim around without a care in the world, as if they are putting up 2 fingers to authority. Another notice forbids burning, though it is clear from the reddening skin of many of the visitors that they too have wilfully ignored the notices as they head for a cool mountain stream.